Okay. I think it's important to do this video because I think a lot of people hear about starting a HoldCo and they think, oh, I want to do that. I want to run and own multiple businesses and have multiple streams of income. And, um, you know, the benefits that come with that, being able to diversify into different things and not relying on one single business. Um, but I think there's a lot of in social media of the good stuff that's thrown out there. And so that's kind of why I named the channel, I renamed my channel The HoldCo Idiot, because you kind of have to be an idiot to want to do this from the get go. And my piece of advice and what I'm going to explain to you in this video is you should not try to start a HoldCo ever. No one ever should. Um, it should happen accidentally. And that's exactly what happened to us. We knew we would eventually have multiple companies because my wife and I are both ambitious. I'm very entrepreneurial. I've started lots of businesses. A lot of them were very big, pie in the sky, moonshot type of deals. And then as I got older, it's like, okay, time to come down from the mountains and start to work on things more realistic. In my 40s now, and I have to sleep more. I can't do 18-hour days over and over and over like I used to. And so there's a part of me that wishes I would have been this smart earlier on. But hey, c'est la vie. Um, but I really think that people should start and focus on one business. And if you are going to run a HoldCo, it will fall in your lap. And that's exactly what happened to us. Um, we were opening our grocery store, the first one in Belen. We sunk everything we had into it, every penny. Everything else went on credit cards. We spent about $15,000. We got it open in 3 weeks. It was a very rushed thing because we needed the income because we decided to stop going to farmers markets. Winter was coming, and we had a small team of people. I think we had 3 employees at the time. One of them was basically full time, and the other two were part time. And we were worried about being able to keep them on. And so that's why we decided to open a retail grocery store to see if Farm to You was going to work. So we did. Our packing store, which is our other store that we owned, which turned us into owning multiple businesses in different industries, was an accident. We didn't set out to open it. It actually came about because we had trouble returning a coffee funnel to Amazon while we were opening the grocery store. We found a coffee funnel on Amazon. It was supposedly for the model of coffee maker that we had. And when we got it, it didn't fit. You'd slide the funnel in and it would go straight down. And forget the funnel is the thing the coffee grinds go in with the coffee filter, and then the water goes in before it goes into the carafe or the pitcher or the glass container. And so it didn't fit. And we tried to return it to Amazon, and up until that time, they had been picking up returns for free. UPS did. And when we tried to return that one, they must have just changed their policy because we couldn't return it. A $13 part. They wanted to charge us $7.99 to return that coffee funnel. And we were like, well, we're not doing that. And so our other option was to drop it off at a UPS store or drop it off at a third party authorized UPS shipper. And I'm like, okay, I'll look for one of those. And there wasn't one in our town. There used to be one at the pharmacy, but it was closing at the end of the month that we had just opened the store. And so that wasn't an option. And so we started looking around like, well, where's everyone returning? Are they driving all the way to Albuquerque every time they need to return something? Or are they paying the $8? And the unit next to us was available and open. It used to be offices for the gas station that was at the other end of the building. And we looked at it, and it looked perfect for like a retail store. It had a front area, carpeted, nice looking, and then a couple back offices. Wasn't huge. It was like little over 800 square feet. And we looked into some more things, and there was no FedEx drop off except for at Walgreens, but they didn't pack. The same thing with the pharmacy that used to be the UPS store before they are not a UPS store, a drop off point, but they wouldn't package. It had to be ready to go. They didn't have tape. You had to drop the package off ready to go. And I said, well, there's no packing or shipping store here. There's no one doing shipping. And then there's also no one doing consistent copies, faxes, printing, and things like that. So when we saw in our town that didn't exist, we created it. We negotiated contracts with FedEx and UPS. We got ASO status and FedEx authorized ship center status. And then we eventually picked up DHL and the post office shortly after that. But we opened our grocery store on November the 12th or 13th. And then we opened that pack and shipping store next door January the 11th. So in less than 2 months, like almost exactly 2 months actually, we opened a second retail store in a totally different industry. And we just trained ourselves and our staff in that store as well, because it was very slow in the beginning. It still is kind of slow because it's a small town of 8,000 people, but a lot of people from neighboring communities also come to that town. And so there are people that come in and they're like, you guys are geniuses to open this pack and shipping store next to your grocery store. And we're honest with them. We're like, we're not geniuses. This is our accidental store. We didn't intend to do this. We had trouble returning a coffee funnel, a $13 coffee funnel to Amazon. And the beauty of that whole situation is that now people come to that store to return their Amazon returns, drop off eBay returns. People who sell on eBay drop off to us. Drop packages, and of course faxing. I can't believe the number of faxes that people still do these days. Sometimes it's up to 15 or 20 a day, and that's $5 each time. That's almost straight profit, because we don't actually need a fax machine because it's all digital now. It gets scanned in our copier, and then we use our phone system just e-faxes it out. So we don't even have to have any sort of specialized equipment that's not already on our copy machine. We don't require a phone line; it just goes over the internet. So it's profitable. It has no debt. We put that on credit cards too, but we're able to pay it off pretty quickly. It's nowhere near the debt of our grocery business. Our grocery business we probably have about $500,000 in debt on that grocery business, but the packing store has zero, and it's slightly profitable. It's not big enough to maintain a full-time staff, which is why we train the folks in the grocery store to go over there, and then the shipping store just compensates our farm business for any hours they work in there, because they spend maybe 25 hours a week or so over there. It's a small town. Sometimes it's dead for several hours, and then you swear everyone calls each other, and then there's like 5 people standing in there at one time. But yes, we are HoldCo owners because of an accident. It's not something we woke up and said we're going to do. We just saw a hole that needed to be filled in our town, and we knew it was something that we'd be good at. It cost us about, I'd say, $5,000 to $7,000 to get going. We got as much of the counter space and desks and things that we could off of Craigslist, cheap, used. The only thing that was brand new is the point of sale and scales and things that we're required to have for our shipping part. So the printer, the label printers, the point of sale system with the touchscreens, the credit card readers are all brand new. We leased the copier and printing machines. It cost us about $120 a month, I think, for basically a $25,000 printer and copier. We have the fastest public printer and copier in town. So if people want to copy and fax and scan things or email them, then we're the place. And because our grocery store is open 7 days a week from 10 to 6, our packing store is also open 7 days a week, 10 to 6, because the people next door just pop over whenever the bell goes off. We have the bells are crossed. So when someone walks in the packing store, the bell goes off inside the grocery store and vice versa. So when if the staff is too much on one side, then they know to go to the other store. And so, yeah, we provide a very valuable service. With better hours than the UPS store that's 12 miles away. And a bunch of people really compliment us on being able to come and drop their packages off, stop in and see our store, get a cup of coffee, grab some snacks. And that store basically, and I get why people say it's genius, because I wish I would have thought of it on purpose, because half the people that go into the packing store go to the grocery store. They go, oh, what's this place? Or they do it on purpose. People from other towns that are 30 minutes away, they come in and they grab some milk and they go drop off their Amazon returns, because there is no place to do it in their towns that are smaller than ours. So that's how we ended up owning multiple retail businesses in 2 different industries, is totally by accident. And that's the only way I think people get themselves in a lot of trouble if you wake up and you go, I'm going to try to start 2 or 3 businesses. I think you have to wait for the perfect moment for that to happen. And because then you'll know, can I fit this in? Whereas if you are trying to force yourself to add a second business because you think you need to add a second business because you want to be a HoldCo person, that's the wrong motivation. Whereas if you're trying to, solve a problem and you find out that other people have that problem, then you can sit there and go, okay, I can staff this and I can fund it and I can make sure the hours are steady and we can get, the contracts needed. That was one thing too. You can't have that store unless you get the contracts with the shippers. And we got declined by UPS the first time we tried. And then we tried a week later and we explained to them geography. We sent them a screenshot of a map and we kind of circled all the little communities that come into our area and come to our grocery store, and how we were bringing people up to 3 hours away to our grocery store, even in our first couple of months. And they changed their minds and gave it to us the next week. And the company that makes our point of sale software for the shipping stuff, that does all the measuring, the dimensions, the calculating, and the pricing for all the shipping, they told us that they'd never heard of someone getting an ASO status from UPS in a week like that. So it was kind of serendipitous, a lot accidental actually. And it was nothing. We woke up and said, hey, let's open 2 stores next to each other. Now we look at that everywhere because we see the dynamic, and they don't seem like they would go together, but they really do. And so now, like when we came to Albuquerque, we looked at a couple of places that had either really big spots where we could put 2 stores in, or 2 open retail sites next to each other so that we could run the same model. The only problem, and the reason that we ended up not doing it, is that training and staffing for the packing store is really hard. 1,000 different things can walk through that door. You got to understand shipping and insurance and packaging and custom box making and printing and photo printing versus paper printing, because the ratios are different for the paper, and international shipping, all the rules and regulations between the different carriers. So it's a very complicated job to train for, and not everyone is well suited for that. And so us trying to focus on farm to you, being that it is very resource heavy and intensive and requires a lot of debt and capital and financial losses, adding the extra stress of trying to run the packing stores, 2 or 3 more, was just something we didn't want to do yet. And that's kind of whole crux of don't try to start a HoldCo. Just wait for one to fall in your lap. Work on your business that you've got. If you don't have one, just focus on one, whatever you think your highest chance of success is, or where you find a needed market, and then see what fits after that. Now everything that we look at falls into kind of those buckets. And so with the acquisition we're doing of the company we're trying to buy, that's in another town, it plays into both of those businesses. And it's not a shipping and packing store, but we don't have anyone in our area that also does what that other company does. And we've had the occasional person asking for referrals on things that could fit in with that business. And so we're buying that business to sell their products and services in our pack and shipping store as a retail outlet, basically, while they're still working in the other site. We're not going to shut it down. We get to keep it where it is and then expand to this part of the state. And then for our grocery store, Farmington is too far away to open another store. The logistics between Albuquerque and Farmington is a 3-hour drive, and so it doesn't make sense to do that now. But everybody up there is asking us, "Oh, are you going to open a farm to you store up here?" And we're like, "No, not yet." I mean, that's a very long ways off, because we have to figure out the logistics for cold food storage and produce for a 3-hour trip. We have a heck of a time doing it just with a 1-hour trip between our farm and the Albuquerque store and the Belen store. So but if we can figure out the logistics from that new site to our existing pack and shipping store, that is a 3.5, 3.25 hour trip, and it's not food. So if we can get the logistics of that straightened out, even if we have to create our own cargo or transportation or shipping company that is making a regular route back and forth, then once we get that established, then we say, okay, how do we add refrigeration and time sensitive food to this route? And then that helps our farm business. So acquiring this other company is not just a way for us to grow and add their revenue and their profits and what they do to our enterprise. It also is a long-term solution strategically for us to grow our other two businesses. So even though those three companies don't do the same thing at all, together they all can complement each other. And so that's kind of what I talk about when I say that you shouldn't try to build a HoldCo, that you should let it fall into your lap, because we've been searching for businesses to buy for 2.5, 3 years, and nothing's gone through. We've submitted several LOIs and gone through a few LOIs and then backed out for any number of reasons, because it just didn't feel right. And you just really need to make sure that when you add that second business, it's comfortable. It has to be comfortable. I mean, not to say that it's not scary or risky, but just don't do it because you're trying to start a HoldCo. Don't just start a second business or buy a second business or add a second one or whatever it is you end up doing. Really make it, this is going to be a weird phrase, accidentally intentional, I think is the best way to put it. So that's how we ended up being a HoldCo. And we have no problem running multiple businesses because we have no problem hiring people and trying to replace ourselves. And that's key too. If you're a micromanager and you have a hard time letting go and just letting other people take the reins and affect their own destiny and therefore your destiny too, I totally wouldn't recommend it. But wait to see what falls in your lap. Take your time and do it right. But that's the best I got for you. Good luck. If you have questions, advice, tips, things you want to point out that you think we're dumb, or I call us idiots for a reason, or you can even call us geniuses. I don't mind. It still feels good. It makes it easier to look at the P&Ls of the farm store when people call us geniuses. Same as 5-star reviews and things like that. So yeah, if you guys have anything, just put it in the comments and we'll address it later. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.